Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage, and today's car is a bit of a strange one. It's the Rolls Royce Silver Shadow 1 you can see behind me. And this car came about, well, it was a bit of a surprise really. Like lots of car nuts, I'm quite often sort of grazing on the classifieds and checking eBay and the various things like that. And I've always had a search out on the Bentley Turbo R's of the 80s and sometimes Silver Shadow. And this time I got tempted, popped a bid in and won the car behind me. Family not overly impressed, although the kids think it's a bit of a giggle. And what we're going to do with this car, I'm not quite sure yet. There are three possibilities. One, we just smoke around in it and use it as a sort of luxury Rolls Royce as it was intended. Or do I send it into a sort of project car? Because it's sort of fascinating me that a Silver Shadow back in the day entered the Paris-Dakar. What would this car look like with a sort of black bonnet, de-chromed spotlights on the front? Kids really like that idea. Or I'll just get scared and just put it back onto eBay. We'll see. But the thing about these Silver Shadows is they're so cheap, ridiculously cheap, and particularly this one. I feel sometimes like I'm Battersea Dog Home for cars. I spot these things, I just can't help myself but bid on it. But the car behind me had a buy it now price of about £9,500. And I noticed it was maturing on a Tuesday afternoon, and about 5 minutes ago I just checked on it, and it was sat at £4,000. I put a bid of £4,100 in it and won the car. Anyway, let's have a closer look at it. Okay, so this particular example was first registered in January 1970, and that means it actually has the slightly smaller engine in it because it's a 69 car, so a 6230cc engine. And what attracted me to it was white, and you won't be surprised to learn that it's been used as a wedding car for the past 10 years. Cream interior. Chrome was in reasonably good condition. There's a slight knock on the front bumper. I liked the way it had a private plate on it. The work recently done on it included welding a new sill, and it had a gearbox rebuild as well, and it's also had a brake rebuild. Looking at the bills, the gearbox was about £8,500, the sill was about £1,000, and Lord knows what the brakes were. There isn't actually an invoice for the brakes, but look underneath, and it's got all new calipers on it all round. There's two calipers on each front wheel, two single calipers either side on the rear, and they're very complicated, the brake system on these Rolls Royces. They have two high pressure system, one for low pressure applications, and another calipers at the front kick in when you want maximum braking. So complicated, often give issues, but this car's had about £12,000 spent on it in the last 2,000 miles. Now, you don't expect to buy a car off eBay for just over £4,000, expect it to be perfect, and this one isn't. But it does have an MOT right into late summer next year, 2018, and underneath, I was really surprised how free of rot it was on the floors, sills, and the main structure of it looks pretty good. But there are little bits like this sill has an interesting little bit of metal added there. There's a bit of bubbling at the back there. One slightly annoying thing, the previous owner didn't dare touch any of the electric windows, all locked the car. First time I tried to lock this door, I got locked in, but I managed to get out eventually. This window has gone down about that much when I press the button. I now won't go up, which is really annoying. But it's not too bad. There was a bit of rust on the other side on the inner wing, but it's not structural, it just looks a bit tatty. Inside, I really rather like the cream leather of this example, and if I actually get in the back, this is a wonderfully comfortable place to be. They have these little footrests, and I've got a mirror here which I can just light up and check, makeup or something as you get out. I suppose is the idea of that, as a celeb bit. Huge amount of space, crazy upholstery, and in pretty good condition. There's a bit of a tear in the front driver's seat. I also love how this lights up, and there's a cigarette lighter in each door. This works as well, and a puddle light. You've got to remember this is 1970. And the other amazing thing I find on Rolls Royce is just how tight the shut lines are. This is aluminium doors on boots, etc., and front bonnet on these cars. But that's amazingly tight. And this is very elegant as well, the handle there. Inside it has the early dash, so this is Shadow 1, so you don't get quite as much padding. Still a bit of padding around the dash, etc. It's all in pretty good nick as well. I'll show you the speed of electric windows of these cars. Look at that. Amazing how fast they were back in 1970. I wonder why they've slowed down over the years. And here's the monster V8, all aluminium, not much to see under here really, but this crazy high pressure sort of Citroen S system for the suspension. It's rear levelling at the rear, which I don't think is working quite right, and the high pressure brakes, that's what this is about. Twin carburetors. And these enormous towers for the suspension. This car has a peculiar double wishbone suspension at the front, all for the quality of the ride. And it's quite soft, this car. I think the dampers have seen better days. £4,000 though, so we can accept some of this sort of stuff. Right. Quite like the clean design of this car. Little reverse lights and a cave of a boot, and we're just enormous. You could quite happily live in there if you wanted. Really impressive. It's got a toolkit as well. Right, let's take it outside for a drive. It's going to be a short drive, this one, but just give you a little experience of what it's like inside. Yeah, there's very definitely a smell of old Rolls Royce, if there is such a thing. There is an aroma of sort of antique or something in here. One of the first cars with inertia seat belts, great big armrests as well. Haven't quite worked out the belt. I want to adjust it because it seems to sit too high up here really. With all these sort of jobs to do. Nicely laid out dash. It takes a bit of work to work out how the ventilation works. A lovely key Rolls Royce fob on it. Single turn, and there we all are. Starts up, slight ticking there from a tappet, etc. One thing I can't find in the history is much engine servicing going on. But what reassured me, being a wedding car meant it was in use most weekends. £250 for a wedding this car seemed to do quite regularly. Last one was about a couple of weeks before I picked it up. As you can tell, it still has evidence of a wedding hire. All the ribbons were all laid out. There was white lilies along the back seat on the parcel shelf, etc. Right, what have we got here? So this is your heating, which I quite like, and you pull it out and you get more heating. There's sort of whirlings happening in here. It's got the lovely eyeball vents with the organ stop affairs there. I've got a fuel gauge that doubles up as oil level. Oil level works, but the fuel doesn't. I put about £50 worth of fuel in it and it's still quarter full. So something's not quite right there. Very comfy. I can't get over it. This is electric seat, up and down, very advanced. Looks like a little mirror thing. I haven't got adjustments for the mirror. So yeah, that's it. You have also, to change gear, obviously there's a wand on the right, and it is a tiny little wand that sends a little electrical pulse to an actuator right down on the gearbox. And that has a slight mind of its own. If I leave it parked in neutral, works fine. If I leave it in park, every now and then when I start it up, it won't go to drive. It sits there as though the activator's not working. So I've got in a habit of doing neutral. All the reasons why it's going in for a bit of work. Right, let's set off. Thumps into there. So brand new gearbox. Actually, it wasn't a rebuild. I didn't mean rebuild. I mean a brand new gearbox it had, say 2,000 miles ago. The only thing, it's very good at wafting. Well, there's no surprise there. It doesn't seem to have a huge amount of go. It has, I think it's been driven for the past 10 years like this. Just getting the bride to church, no need, no rush, sort of float up to the church gates. That's all it used to do. Yes, quite a sensation, the way it goes down the road. Generally, it's not a car to get places in a hurry. Although, I mean, they talk about 10 seconds to 10 seconds to 60, 35 seconds to 100 miles an hour, a top speed of, I don't know, 115 or something like that. But this one feels very leisurely. I was a little concerned that the engine wasn't in the best of health when I first picked it up, but I did a compression test and all 8 pots are 150 pounds. That's really quite healthy. That means valve, piston rings and all that sort of thing are in absolutely fine fettle. So I think there's a slight ignition problem or potentially a carburettor problem, because it normally gets up to 60, 70, but it doesn't exactly rush up there. So that's why I'm taking it in, and that's why you're not going to have a full road test of a Rolls Royce Shadow 1, because this isn't as they're going to be. So I can't wait to do these little jobs. I'm trying to think what else they're going to look at. Mainly engine service, but dual locks, try and make the window go up and down, all little jobs like that. To say at the moment the jury's out as whether this car actually stays. The sensible thing is to buy, if you want a car like this, is to buy a Bentley Turbo R, I think. But then there's something quite seductive about Rolls Royce. Somehow Rolls Royce is coming up on the cool chart. I think for whatever reason a Shadow is somehow cooler than a Turbo R. I can't work out in my head why. Because the Turbo R adds lots of better interiors, more performance and all the rest of it. But this early car, just the way it goes down the road, is extraordinary. That price point of £4,000, 4,100 is extraordinary as well. If it had been 10,000, I know I could probably afford a more expensive Rolls Royce, but then I wouldn't have bought one. So it's this fascination. Can a £4,000 Rolls Royce still deliver the Rolls Royce experience? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Anyway, if you enjoy this video, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming on very soon.